Texas is more than just cowboys, oil fields, and country roads. It's a land built on legends. Ghosts, cryptids, witches, outlaws, and spirits from the frontier still linger in the Lone Star State. Today, we're exploring the folklore that shaped Texas. Stories whispered around campfires and passed down from generations. Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator of Deep Woods Paranormal. I am also the host of the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. So today, we're going to talk about 10 more folklores. And today, we're going to stay in the state of Texas. So I don't think we've talked about these before, but these are specifically just for Texas. And I think what we're going to do is we'll probably move around from state to state. I think we did this for Bigfoot, but we'll talk about a lot of the places in each state that have paranormal activity and kind of compare them. And as we go, you're welcome to comment down below. If there's a place that you think we should be talking about in your state, let us know. Also, let us know where you're viewing from. All right, guys. So we'll talk about the donkey lady. She's in San Antonio. We'll talk about the wolver of the desert. We'll talk about Jefferson, Texas, also known as the Bigfoot capital of Texas, but also maybe the most haunted town in Texas. The ghost train of Yoakum. That sounds interesting. The Lake Worth monster. Now, I've been there, and we'll talk about that. And then it says the Goat Man of Texas. So we'll see about that. So the Black-Eyed Children of Abilene. Now, again, we've talked about the Black-Eyed Children, but there's a specific story that goes with this one. Bear with me, guys. I've been really down and about for the last 2 weeks. I've had whatever bug was going around has really been messing with me. And it's really been messing with my ability to go through and basically talk about these. So, La Lorena. A Texas border variant. So this is basically just another lady in white, and we'll talk about her specific story. It's a little different, so we'll talk about her story. The Ghost Lights of Saratoga, we've been there. The Caddo Lake Monster, we've also gone there and looked for that. Then the Screaming Bridge of Arlington. So I've never actually heard of this one. I've actually read this story now, and it's pretty interesting. So let's get into this. All right, so let's go back to where we started. So let's start with the donkey lady. This is in South San Antonio, and basically a woman was burned horribly in a house fire and supposedly haunts the bridge outside of South San Antonio. Visitors report hearing hooves on the bridge, shadow figures with elongated limbs. Ooh, donkey-like screams late at night, and then cars getting hit by rocks when no one is present. So, okay. So the elongated limbs and cars getting hit by rocks. Does that sound familiar? Maybe Bigfoot is responsible for that. But essentially, I've read the story. So the story goes that the family lived next to a bridge and next to a river, and somebody came to borrow a donkey, and the boy who was giving the donkey to the person who was borrowing it, the donkey bit the guy, and he got upset, and then later on essentially came and set the house on fire, and the lady escaped, and her fingers and stuff and her feet were badly burned, and so her hands kind of turned into like hooves, like, figures. And so essentially what happened was she was badly burned, and she was very badly distorted, if you will. I don't want to get into too graphic here, guys, because we do have audiences of all ages. But essentially, she was badly burned, and her face didn't look normal anymore. Her hands didn't look normal anymore. Her feet didn't look normal anymore. And so they called her the donkey lady. And so when she passed, they said that basically she wants vengeance, and now she comes back to haunt anybody who comes around the land. She's basically very upset about what happened to her and her family, which, I can completely understand. And so anytime anybody comes to visit that area, she can be very active. Again, I don't know about throwing rocks or cars getting hit by rocks. That's pretty interesting. sounds more like a Bigfoot type thing, where maybe rocks are coming flying out of the woods. Maybe there's woods around that area. I'm not sure. I've not visited this area. We've been to the Donkey Man's Bridge, but we've never actually been here. So we'll have to go check this out. Have you guys been here before? Comment down below. Let us know. What did you experience? Or did you experience anything at all? Did you think it was haunted? Did you experience the donkey lady? All right. So let's talk about the Wolver of the Desert, the Texas werewolf. So this one's interesting. So basically it says Texas has its own version of the frontier werewolf. It's been reported by ranchers since the 1800s. It's a tall, gaunt creature with glowing amber eyes. Walks upright. It's seen stalking livestock near Rio Grande. And modern sightings describe it as a dogman-like creature. Now, there's another part to this, and let me go into the notes here. It's interesting because it says it's a malevolent, half-man, half-wolf creature with a short brown hair and wolf's head, and not a cursed human, which is pretty interesting. So they're saying that it isn't fully like a dog man. It's not like a full dog man. It's still part human. And they say it lives in a cave, it fishes, and secretly leaves fish on the windowsills of the poor or sick families, which is interesting. It says its demeanor is friendly, patient, helpful, and solitarily. So that's really interesting. I don't know about that. The reports seem to differ. So if it's hunting livestock, it's not that could be more of a dogman like entity. Or maybe it's some kind of shapeshifter. Maybe it's an Indian of some sort that is seen in that area. All right. Again, have you experienced this? Have you ever seen the Wolver of the desert? Let us know down below. Comment down below. All right, guys. So Jefferson, Texas, is said to be one of the most haunted town in Texas. Blah. All right. So basically, there's phantom carriage sounds, ghostly women, and in the Lexer Hotel, Confederate era shadow figures. Now, the Civil War actually happened in that part of Texas. It didn't happen in all Texas. There weren't any battles in where I live, but there are Civil War soldiers seen in this area, which is strange. So they could have had camps here or whatever. They could have been set up here. Mainly the Spanish-American War was fought here. But they also hear disembodied footsteps around the historical district. And they're saying the Riverport towns have heavy paranormal activity. That makes sense. I mean, anytime you have water, it creates energy. Like when it rains and storms, I noticed the activity here the other night in our house was more active. So you just never know when that kind of stuff happens, what you're going to experience. I mean, the little kids were very active the last 2 nights with all the lightning and thunder in the air. And so with the heavy rains and stuff, we didn't get a lot of rain, but we got some heavy rains, and that seems to be when they're the most active in the house. So it makes sense that the spirits, it does rain heavier in Jefferson, and having moving water and stuff like that does create energy. Again, when you have any kind of when they did the old sawmills where they used it with the big paddle wheels to create energy to move the saw blades and stuff like that. And some people still use those. It's very, very rare, but people still use those out in the wilderness or to power small towns or whatever. Some people still use that. So it's just interesting. Jefferson does have they have a very historic past. They've had, that town's been there for a very long time. If you look at other places in the world where, civilization's been there for thousands of years, hundreds, over hundreds of years, the older a place is, the more energy it seems to store. And so it's an older town in Texas, and with a lot of people in and out of there, a lot of activity and energy moving through that area, it does make sense. So I think we talked about Jefferson enough. We've talked about that before. If you guys want to know more about Jefferson, Texas, we do plan on possibly doing some Bigfooting out there soon. We'll get back into that more later. We can do a whole thing on just Jefferson, Texas, between the Bigfoot stuff and the actual possible hauntings. Unfortunately, a lot of the hotels do not like to bring up the fact that they're haunted or any paranormal activity for some reason. Okay. The ghost train of Yoakum. Okay. So locals report an invisible locomotive powering down the tracks. A bright light approaches but never arrives. Metal on metal screeches. Cold gusts of air as it passes. Frontier stories connected to a tragic rail worker's death. So that's interesting. So let's actually look into this a little bit more. So I guess supposedly there was a local legend of a phantom school bus that's said to be pushed stalled cars to safety at the railroad crossing on Shane Road. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you guys. But it says there was a true 1938 bus crash that inspired the story of that actually occurred over 1,300 miles away in Salt Lake City. There seems to be a lot of places where, like they say, if you stop and you wipe off your back window and you put baby powder on the back window, if you stop right before the tracks are just kind of on the tracks, where little kids have basically died in tragic bus crashes, or somebody's died in a car crash with a train, that somebody will actually push you across the tracks. And there's a lot of different places, even in Texas, that have this theory. And I know a few people that have actually tested it out. They've actually gone and gotten their car washed the back window really good to make sure there's no streaks, nothing sticky or anything on it. Put the baby powder on there, gotten back in their car, and then essentially, I got Alexa talking to me. So essentially gotten back in their car and then actually gotten pushed over the tracks. They put it in neutral, turn the car off, put it in neutral, and actually get pushed over the tracks, which is amazing to me. People that actually believe. So that's really strange that happens. Is there like a guardian there trying to protect people from getting hit by a train? Are they, are the spirits of those kids that possibly died in that tragic accident still there? Is it actually a train worker? Maybe it's just residual energy that is coming through there. Now, if you guys don't know, I work for a company that moves railroad crews around. And I drop crews off at the trains on the sidings every once in a while. And I had an experience, not with a train, but with an actual entity. I'll call it an entity. It was a shuttle person. The conductor, the engineer was up in the engine. The conductor, I thought, was walking the train. They were trying to get ready to get off the train to go home. And essentially what happened was I had my lights on, shining straight out down the tracks. The train was facing the opposite way, but I could see the engine and I could see down probably about 20 or 30 cars. It was bright enough so I could see. And I thought the conductor was walking back towards me, and essentially he walked off to the left of me towards my driver door, which was facing the way he was coming. And essentially he walked over, kind of looked, into the bushes, and then essentially turned back around, came back over, and then walked into the train and got up into the engine. And about, a minute goes by, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes goes by. And all of a sudden, the real conductor, comes walking down the train tracks, and he has a lantern. The other entity didn't have any kind of light. It was just a black shadow. I thought it was kind of transparent, but it was solid enough that it had a human form. And so he's walking down the tracks. I mean, he walked across right in front of the car, right through the headlights, and then hopped on the train, the back of the train, walked down the side, and then went into where the engine room area is. And so, and as soon as I see the conductor, I'm like, wait, am I picking up 3? And I look at the actual notes. I'm like, no, there's only 2 people. And so he comes walking up. He comes over, and I put my window down. And he goes, oh, yeah, we'll be right with you. I'm like, how many people are there? Are there 3 of you? He goes, no, there's just 2. And I'm like, who's that other guy? He's like, what other guy? And I'm like, oh, okay. Now, I've never actually done any research down in that area to find out if anybody actually passed away on those tracks. I'm sure somebody's passed away on those tracks. I was just literally feet from where the crossing was. So, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people every year pass away in train accidents. And so could this be one of the victims of the train that died? I don't know. But why were they walking across, to the actual tracks? I mean, could that have been an old conductor who was just walking the tracks, or, was he tied to that engine? Unfortunately, people have died in the engines while on duty and stuff like that. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get myself in trouble. But anyways, this is very interesting to me. It just makes me wonder who possibly could be haunting these tracks. Is it an engineer? Is it a conductor? Is it just a ghost train itself? Just like a residual energy that no matter what just comes through at a certain time every day or week or month? Or is it just there's an anniversary? Maybe a train accident happened on that date that they're experiencing this. It's very interesting. If you guys want to know more, comment down below. Let me know what you think. All right. So the Lake Worth Monster. It says the Goat Man of Texas. And it says it's one of the Texas' most famous cryptids. It says it's part goat, part man creature. And it was first reported in the 1960s, excuse me. Is known to jump onto cars and throw tires. And then its sightings are around Greer Island, excuse me. And it's possibly related to the Goat Man legends nationwide. I actually went to look for the Fort Worth Monster. This is back January of this year. I was out there. We were filming. We were trying to document things. We found a very, very large footprint in the mud. I heard tree knocks, and this is back where I injured my ankle for the second time out doing research. It's part of the reason I've been doing much lately. I've been trying to let that ankle heal completely. It still really hurts, unfortunately. So anyways, and we will be doing more investigations here. I'm focusing around where I live right now. A lot of stuff. Sorry to go off on a tangent here. I've been hearing more and more and more and more stuff about Brazos Valley. A lot of people are starting to come to me, especially where I work and stuff like that, with stories and talking about folklore. There's Bigfoot reports, ghost reports, UFO sightings, other cryptids and stuff like that. People have not reported Bigfoot. I mean, not reported Dogman to me, but they're reporting other strange creatures that they can't explain. So, anyways, we went up there, and as we were walking through this area on the island, we were actually on Greer Island, and we're walking around. We're trying to find a cave that essentially the guy that I was with had experienced. He hadn't quite got there, but he said he found a bunch of bones and stuff in a cave and whatever else. And so as we were walking around, I was having a hard time keeping up because I already stepped in a hole once and re-injured the ankle a little bit. It was sore, making it hard for me to walk, and essentially then basically I got literally clobbered. Actually, it happened twice. The first time I stepped in the hole, something literally pushed me over. Something unseen, invisible to me. There was a tree knock to my left. I looked to my left, and something literally from the right just knocked me completely over. just like shoved me over, just literally just shoved me. After that, I got back up and I started walking. I started hobbling around, trying to follow him. And the next thing I know, it's like I got, it's almost like the forest came alive. Something like wrapped around my ankle, and I literally got pulled to my left, and something literally just kept, I grabbed onto two branches. I've talked about this before, and literally something just, I snapped both branches. I mean, the branches were not thin. They were pretty good size, about an inch and a half in diameter. I literally snapped both little tree trunks as I went over, and that was it for my ankle. Basically, I was done for that I've been done since about now with actually physical outdoor walking around in the forest. Now, we've been doing ghost research still, but we haven't really been doing a lot of Bigfooting. And if you're into Bigfoot, this is the time of year to go look for them because they're migrating. So be listening for tree knocks, screams, road crossings, stuff like that if you're into that. All right. So the black-eyed children of Abilene. All right. So we talked about the black-eyed kids before. They're children with black solid eyes. They knock at doors at night. Let me in. Essentially, the witness inside usually feels very overwhelmed with dread or fear or whatever. Whatever these kids are, if they're an alien, if they're, I don't want to say that word, a negative entity, maybe they're something else. Who knows what they are? But essentially, people that have ever seen them are scared of them. Essentially, they just don't feel comfortable around them. And as long as you don't let them in or give them permission to come in, you're fine. But if you let them in, they can terrorize you. And I've heard stories of that as well. And we're not going to get too much into the black-eyed children at this point. But essentially what it was is there was a reporter. He was out doing a story, and these two kids came walking up to him, and he noticed they had really dark black eyes. Now, again, for my skeptics, sometimes if you're in a darker area, I don't care how, bright your eyes are, they could be yellow. You could have yellow around your eye, around your pupil, and your eyes will look black depending on the lighting. I mean, if you have brown eyes, your eyes can look completely black. So essentially, these kids wanted to be let in, and he said he felt dread and he was scared of them. And he said no, and they got angry, and they continued to badger him until he finally, I think, drove away. So that's basically the story of the black-eyed children in Abilene. Okay, so the lady in white, we'll call her the lady in white because I can't really pronounce her name. Another lady in white, this is the one on the Texas border. So basically it's Texas's own version of the American version of the lady in white. She's reported to be crawling along riverbanks. She's seen near the Rio Grande River, and she's associated with the drownings and frontier tragedies. So many families have claimed to have encounters with her. So, from what I understand, let me look into the notes I have on her. And basically it says that she is the Weeping Woman myth or modern, blah, blah, blah. So basically she is she's not basically a bad lady. She's basically not trying to save her kids from drowning. Basically, she's trying to save her children from a threat, such as Native Americans. And if you don't know, okay, so let me go into Texas a little bit here. When I first got here, I didn't know a lot about Texas, and I've learned a lot about Texas since I've been here, especially in my area. The Native Americans and the settlers, let's call them, did not get along, especially even in Mexico either. The Mexican people and the Native Americans, they clashed a lot. Let's just put it that way. I want to keep careful about how I describe this. So they clashed a lot. They didn't like each other. They didn't want, basically each one wanted a certain territory that the other one owned possibly, and they were going after resources that the other one wanted, buffalo, deer, so basically, when Mexico started to settle up in this area, and the foreigners that came in from other countries started settling in this area, the Native Americans didn't take too kindly to it, and they battled each other. And so essentially they're saying that this lady is basically, but her thing is that basically she lost her kids to possibly one of those wars with the Native Americans, and now she haunts that area because that's where her kids were essentially killed, or maybe all three of them were killed. So that's basically the story of her. I don't want to get into too much detail. If you guys want to know more, let me know down below in the comments, and we'll get into more details. All right. I like this one better. The Ghost Lights of Saratoga, also called the Bragg Road Lights. If you've never been to the Ghost Lights of Saratoga, they are real. I didn't know what to think when we first went there. Amanda and I did a road trip. We spent 2 days down there. We drove down one night because it's about 6 hours away from us, 8 hours away from us. We spent the night there at a hotel and had some ghostly encounters with something. I don't know what it was. Tried to communicate with it and didn't really get much communication, but it was present all night long. That area seems to be very haunted, by the way. So maybe there's some kind of energy in that area that is causing the lights. I don't know. Up to this point, nobody's really been able to figure out what exactly they are. Are they ghosts? Are they UFOs? Are they some kind of military thing? Although they've been seen back into like the 1800s or earlier, as far back as settlers have been here, they've been seeing these lights. And then back into, since modern day, they're still seen. We experienced them. People say they're just headlights or whatever. I don't think they're just headlights. Now, there is a military base 10 miles from where you view the lights at. And in and around where those lights are also, there are a bunch of oil derricks. So, and you can see them on the oil derricks because of the airport there. They have antenna, and they have their own lights that go on and off to look, to make sure the airplanes don't collide with them, right? So essentially what happens is people see white, blue, green, yellow, orange lights that appear out of nowhere. They move. Sometimes they'll come close and interact. Sometimes they'll follow people as they're driving down the road and stuff like that. There is a mountain. If you're looking straight out, like this way, straight out, like I'm looking at you, that's basically where the viewing platform is. To the right of where the viewing platform is, there is, I forget what the mountain range is, but there's a road that kind of comes down in a zigzag pattern, like an S. And it goes back and forth like a normal road would. But we could actually see the headlights. You could see the headlights on the road as they're coming down that road. And all of a sudden we see no light over there. I'm like, okay, and that's just a headlight. There was no other cars that we could visibly see on the road. And it starts down, and then it starts taking this weird pattern. And then it does a loop, and it goes back over this way. It does another loop. I'm like, wait, that's not car headlights. And so, I could not. I tried IR light. I tried infrared, which is IR light. I tried thermal. I could not see the lights on any of those. I couldn't see it on thermal. I couldn't see it on infrared. I could only see it with my normal spectrum of light through my camera, which is strange. So I turned the night vision off, and I used my Nikon camera actually to take pictures of them. And I have, 600 pictures. So we took lots of pictures that night. Everywhere I saw light, I took a picture. They were close, they were far, and these lights would just appear out of nowhere. Literally, these white balls. I thought it was maybe planes flying down low, but there was no flashing red or green lights. and they were flying almost in formation. You get one, then you get two, then you get three next to each other, and they come floating across, and then they would just disappear. And I'm like, okay, that's strange. And then I realized later on, I kept seeing, there's some that are just steady all night long. And it was strange. So there was one here, and I thought it was an oil derrick, one of the oil derrick lights, until I took the camera back the next day to kind of see. I took a bunch of pictures and I started scrolling through the pictures to see. And every time I took a picture, I had the camera on a tripod. I was using a clicker, so I wouldn't bump the camera or anything like that. So I wouldn't have any blurry lights, or somebody couldn't say, oh, well, that's just an oil derrick that you bump the camera and it makes it look like it's flying around, right? Disturbing the path of the light. So as I'm looking at these pictures, I'm going, wait a minute. I thought that was an oil derrick, but there was no oil derrick there. This light was just hovering. This white light, this ball of light, orb or whatever you want to call it, was just sitting there. And I was shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. There's something to that. There really is something to the Saratoga ghost lights. So if you ever get the opportunity to go out there, I would highly encourage it. Unfortunately, that area is starting to get a little more built up. And as it gets more built up, I think that basically, if they don't protect that area, those lights are going to possibly disappear in the future. So anyways, all right, let's move on to this one. The Caddo Lake Monster. Basically, this is East Texas Bigfoot hotspot. It says there's a massive creature seen in the swamp. Loud howls and tree knocks. Full body sightings since the 1800s. The frontier legend calls it the Caddo Wild Man. So is this a Bigfoot species? I'm not sure, but we did actually go out there. That lake is creepy as hell. Excuse my language. We didn't actually get to go out on the lake. We were down there and we were asking a lot of questions and trying to set up to get some information about how we could film and possibly do a documentation down there. And they're like, well, you need a permit to film and blah, blah, blah. You got to go through this step and that step and this step. And then if they approve it, then you have to submit the video to them so they can see what it looks like and blah, blah, blah. And they monitor YouTube and Facebook and all this other stuff. And if they see a video that's up there that they didn't approve, they will sue you and you'll get in trouble and blah, blah, blah. So we didn't do any filming. But essentially, yeah, we went down there during the day, and that lake, the water just looks pure black. I mean, it looks like something out of a movie, essentially. It really does. It really looks like something out of a movie. Anyways, have you guys been to Caddo Lake? Did you experience anything? We want to go down there sooner or later and put our RV down there and maybe camp and explore a little bit and just see what we can experience. But it'd be very interesting to hear if you guys have any stories from Caddo Lake. So anyways, number 10, the Screaming Bridge of Arlington. All right. So this is different from the Donkey Lady Bridge. This is said to be haunted by teenagers who died in a car crash. It says screams are heard at midnight. Phantom car headlights appear. Footsteps on the bridge when no one is there. So the story behind the Screaming Bridge of Arlington is that some pranksters decided to remove a sign that said the bridge is out. And so some teenagers were driving down there late at night, couldn't see that there was no bridge there, started across what they thought was the bridge, and then went right into the water. And unfortunately, 3 teenagers died in that. And reports of the kids as they were going down, screaming bloody murder because they couldn't get out of the car, were reported. And so, again, is this one more of a residual type haunt? Maybe the kids are still there. Maybe they're, upset of what happened to them. Maybe they're, upset that they passed too soon. I'm just choosing my words carefully. Who knows? We've actually never been to the Screaming Bridge yet, but it's definitely on our to-do list. And, but yeah, I mean, hearing those poor screams from those kids. I mean, I can't even imagine how traumatizing that was for them. And when you have a traumatizing death like that, where you die too early and you're not ready to go, it can lead to people staying and maybe trying to find a way out. Maybe they're still looking to try and get out of the car. Maybe they're really living that over and over and over again. Hopefully not. Hopefully they're at peace, but it doesn't sound like it. So it'd be interesting to go there and maybe see if we could help them move on someday. So anyways, guys, have you guys been to the Screaming Bridge of Arlington? We'd love to hear about any stories that you guys have or any encounters you have. Have you ever investigated this? Let us know in the comments down below. And with that, guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we will catch you guys on the next one.